I said, I don't know who is playing right corner or left corner, but I said, you guys are going to give up one of those corner spots. I'm going to start. You know that check you just gave that rookie, Hanford Dixon? I said, yeah. He said, well, you had to give him another one because I just tore up the one that you gave him. And he was still laughing. We started barking, and everybody started barking.
They could hear it.
Yeah, before we knew it, everybody was the dogs.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Club 46, driven by Bridgestone. I'm Jay Crawford. This is the show where we get a chance to sit down and spend some real time with former and current Cleveland Brown greats. And today we're thrilled to be joined by one of the original dogs, maybe the original dog, Hanford Dixon. Hanford, great to see you.
Hey, Dawg, it's good to be here, and it's about time you guys talk to someone that really, no, I'm just
Save
kidding.
the best for last.
You got it.
See
but
what
no,
we're doing there?
No, glad to be here.
When I like to start by asking this to everybody, is there one moment from your career that when you run into Browns fans around town, they most want to talk about?
Yeah, there's a few of them, but I'll tell you a couple of things. I never forget the first time I watched a Cleveland Browns game because growing up I was never a Cleveland Browns fan.
You weren't?
No, I'm from a little small town outside of Mobile, Alabama called Theodore, and I call it the door to Mobile. Obviously, we have the Senior Bowl there every year. And I was actually a Dallas Cowboy fan.
Really?
I used to love the Dallas Cowboys. And I remember it was right before the draft. The Browns were playing the Oakland Raiders, and they were playing them in Cleveland Brown Stadium. And it was a cold day, too. And it was a playoff game. And what stood out to me was watching the game, and the fans were here, and they had their shirts off, and I said, those people in Cleveland are just absolutely crazy. They're nuts. I said, there's no way I could play for that particular team. And sure enough, the Browns lost the game. I think Sipe threw an interception.
Red right 88.
Red right 88. And, but lo and behold, right before the draft, I get a call from the owner of the Cleveland Browns, Mr. Art Modell, and he said, Hanford Dixon, you want to be a Cleveland Browns? And I'm like, yes, sir. I want to come to Cleveland, but I never thought it. I said in my mind, there's no way I would ever come and play for this team. But now you have me here. They can't get rid of me. I'm just here forever. But that's one of the moments, and I guess a couple of people have heard that, and they've asked me that story. And another thing that's been really popular about the Dawg Pound, but I won't get into that right now.
No, we're going to come back to that.
Oh, okay. That's why I said. That's why I said I won't get into that right
now.
now.
But I want to really start by kind of diving into your early years. Take us back to that small town in Alabama. What was it like growing up, young Hanford Dixon?
Well, it was it was funny because I never had any brothers. I had one sister. My sister was older than I was, and then there was my mom and my dad, and I remember it was kind of hard for me to play football because I didn't start playing. I didn't get a chance to play like Pee Wee or anything like that. I didn't start playing until later on, and during that time, my father never wanted me to play football. My mother was okay with it, but my father never wanted me to. I remember I used to stay after school because I had strict instructions for my dad to come home right after school, but I would stay. I would to football practice, knowing that when I got home, my dad was going to whip my butt, and that went on for a little while. And then finally, my mom told him, said, "Leave that boy alone. Go watch him play, and see if it's okay." So, because he always thought, it was going to interfere with my studies and everything else. So, but he came and he watched me practice, and he decided to let me play football. And I remember one particular day, it was just crazy. Some of the guys that played football with me wanted to go home with me. I didn't want them to go home with me because I didn't want them to see me get my butt whipped, because I knew that was going to happen. But it was a struggle in the beginning to even get to the stage where I could play football. But again, once he decided to let me play, it was he came to see me practice. It was a good thing.
One trait you're thankful you got from each parent?
I'll say my mother was just her strength, her convictions, her belief, meaning that she kept the family together. She is the one that made sure all of us, including my dad, if we don't want to at certain times, we were right there in church every Sunday, and we believed in God. And then my father, just his work ethics. I mean, he worked extremely hard to provide for the family, and we appreciate that, and we saw that. So they were, because you hear today, you have so many people, so many kids, they don't grow up with two parents. Thank God we didn't have that problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was football your main sport, or did you what else did you play as a kid?
You know, football was pretty much my main sport. I played a little basketball, played a little baseball, but I got a couple good stories on those. I wasn't very good at baseball because you couldn't convince me that curveball was going to curve. And I wasn't going to stay in there long enough in the batter box to find out. And I remember we had on the baseball uniforms, I never really used to play, but I used to go, after the game, I'll go slide on the dirt to get my uniform dirty to make people believe,
Yeah.
I
Sure.
look like I played in basketball. I played basketball in high school. I was very quick, I could steal the ball, I could play defense, I could shoot a little bit, but the fright was there when I stole the ball and going out on the layup that I was going to miss the layup. So I was fast enough, I would steal the ball, but when I stole the ball going down right before the layup, I was glad there was someone trailing so I could give the ball to them.
Give it up.
I would give it up.
So I'm having a hard time getting my mind around the fact that big, strong, tough, hard-hitting Hanford Dixon bailed out on curveballs.
Yeah, for some reason, you just couldn't convince me that ball. I know it was supposed to curve, but just the thought of it not curving and hitting me, I just, I couldn't take it. It's like
we're down with that.
Well, it's like me and snakes. I can get along with spiders, anything like this, but snakes, I can't get along with them.
Got it. Very good. When did you realize that you were above average good at football?
Well, I had the, in high school, like I said, I always knew that I was very fast. And I had the mindset, I knew I was pretty good because I used to play two positions in high school. I used to play defensive back, and I played, three. I played running back, and I played a little bit of wide receiver, and I didn't like getting hit, so that converted me to defensive back more than the offensive side. But I knew, my junior year, I knew I was pretty good, or I was going to get a scholarship to one of major universities. And it just so happened that the university, I had scholarships, but the University of Southern Mississippi had pretty much wrapped me up. I was going to commit there. But once I walked into the University of Southern Mississippi as a freshman, and we had like a team meeting or something, and we were talking to the guys, and I said, I was always very cocky. I said, I don't know who is playing right corner or left corner, but I said, you guys are going to give up one of those corner spots. I'm going to start at one of the corners. And, they were looking at me like, who is this kid? You're not talking about he's going to come in and start. Sure enough, I started at one of the corner, but my whole mindset throughout my sophomore year was if I get drafted by the 5th round, I can make someone's NFL team. Because, back then the draft, you had, 11, 12 rounds?
12 rounds.
Yeah, 12 rounds back then. But after my sophomore year in college, I started thinking to myself, I said, Jay, forget this 5th round stuff. I said, I'm good enough. I could be drafted in the first round. And coming out of my senior year out of the University of Southern Mississippi, I was ranked the #1 cornerback in the nation. So I was feeling pretty good until the draft started. What happened was I came out that same year as myself, Ronnie Lott, Kenny Easley, all those guys, good friends of mine. We all came out together. And I never will forget this. During the draft, Ronnie Lott went really fast. Kenny Easley went really fast. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, whoa, this is going to really get good. Now, this is going to really, really interesting, because I said, I have to be next to come off the board. Until the 21st pick, the Oakland Raiders took a cornerback out of Texas Tech, a guy by the name of Ted Watts. And I'm like, what is going on here? I am the #1 ranked cornerback. Why would they take this kid out of Texas Tech? But it was okay. With the next pick, I get the call from Mr. Modell saying that they were going to pick me and I was going to be a Cleveland Brown.
What did you know about Cleveland?
You know what? Nothing but, I knew it was cold.
Yeah.
I remember watching the AFC Championship playoff game. I knew that the fans were crazy. I knew in the cold, they take off their shirts. And, it was crazy. Here's a story. My first flight to Cleveland, I came here and I was expecting a bunch of people at the airport waiting for me, cheering me on, and no one was there. So I'm like, what the hell's going on here, And then I had on, you'd have laughed if you'd have saw me, I had like a little white suit on. Can you imagine a little country boy from dirt roads in Alabama with a white suit on, and then Ozzie grabbed me and pulled me to the side. He said, let me tell you something, boy. He said, you take off those clothes.
You're in Cleveland.
Yeah. You take off those clothes, and it was so funny. And then he and I ended up being roommates because obviously he was from Alabama Tide. But no, I had really never been to Cleveland or anything.
Was there, leading up to the draft, it's different now. I mean, there's so much build up, 24/7, every network that covers sports is talking about the draft.
Yeah.
What was your draft day experience? Where were you? Were you with family members? How did you watch?
Well, because it's totally different now how they do it. Like, as well as I do now, it's just a big production. And I was nothing spectacular or anything, just low key, sitting at home with the family, and I say maybe I waited till the 22nd pick because I remember playing the Senior Bowl. When we played in the Senior Bowl, for some reason my two I don't know whether it was they're frostbite or infected or something. It was kind of crazy. I know I had a problem with my two toes. I said, well, maybe that had something to do with it, but I was really shocked I lasted to the 22nd pick.
What was that transition like for you going, even at Southern Miss? I mean, you were still basically in the same part of the country, the only place that you knew, and then you're coming to Cleveland, Ohio. They're going to pay you more money than you thought you could make, and you're in a strange land.
Well, I tell you this: when I first came to Cleveland, and me and my agent, my attorney, a guy by the name of Bud Holmes. Bud was he was an agent, but he was also district attorney in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and Walter Payton and I had the same agent. Walter was went to Jackson State. So we came to Cleveland, we signed a contract, and from Mr. Modell, and then we left Cleveland and we took a flight to Chicago. We went to see Walter. And so Walter looked at me and he says, Hanford, where is that check that that Art gave you? He didn't call him Mr. Modell, I called him Mr. Modell. Where's that check that Art gave you? And I said, Bud, you get the check, where's the check? So Bud gave the check to Walter. So Walter took the check and he tore it up. I mean, he tore the check up. And I'm looking at him, still I'm a little kid here, I'm looking at him, I'm like, wow, he just tore up my check. And after he was just sitting over there laughing, so after he tore up the check, he jumped on the phone and he called Art, Mr. Modell. He said, Art, he said, you know that check you just gave that rookie Hanford Dixon? Art said, yeah. He said, well, you have to give him another one because I just tore up the one that you gave him. And he was still laughing, but it wasn't funny to me because I didn't know him and Art was on those, but of course, Walter Payton knows.
He knew everybody.
He knew everybody, but, and I remember I used to work out with him and I didn't want him to know, here I was, a rookie, and I couldn't hang with him.
With the workouts?
I couldn't hang out with the workouts because we used to run these hills and I would throw up and he was still going, but I didn't want him to know that I couldn't hang with him. It was just tough.
What did that tell you about being great at this level?
Because I thought when I first came into the league, I thought obviously you had to be very talented, but talent alone, that told me that talent alone is not going to get you in this league because everybody has a lot of talent. And that's when I really started to study. I wanted to know, when we played, I wanted to know everything that a receiver or the offense, what they were going to try to do, how they were going to try to attack me. I wanted to know what was going to happen. And when I go out on the field, it's like a computer running in my mind. If he's lined up 3 yards outside the number, a couple yards inside the number, whatever, depending on what the formation is, what they do motion, I'll be able to cut it down with the things that they're going to try to do to me or how they're going to try to attack our football team. But I realized that it's just not talent alone. You have to be smart and you have to be prepared in this league in order to stay in this league.
Did you have a welcome to the NFL moment?
I remember we were playing the New York Jets, my rookie season, and the New York Jets had a wide receiver by a very, very, I think he just passed, very, very fast wide receiver, world-class sprinter, Lamb Jones. And so Greg said, okay, I'm going to get you ready for Lamb Jones during the week, like on the practice squad or whatever, going against the first team. And I told Greg, I said, you don't have to get me ready for Lamb Jones. You need to get Lamb Jones ready for Hanford Dixon. Again, how cocky I was. But when the game started, we were playing them, and Lamb Jones, even though I was very fast, Lamb Jones was getting up on me so fast. I mean, I'm talking about just speed. And I never will forget this. Greg was on the sideline. He was sitting on his helmet watching the game. And I'm out there. I mean, they're getting ready to run a play. And I'm doing like this. I said, psst, psst. I'm, looking at Greg. And Greg's looking at me and he said, Hanford, what you want? I said, can you tell me when he's going to go deep? And Greg, I'm telling you, I am on the field. Greg looks at me. He said, from where I'm sitting, anytime he wants to. I said, oh my goodness. But that was, my point is, that was like my rookie season and part of my rookie season when I thought that you could just play this game just on talent alone, but it doesn't work that way. You have to study, you have to prepare, you have to be ready in this league because everyone on the roster is good.
Do you have a moment from your time in Cleveland, a play, a snapshot that you most remember?
Yes, I do. Like I said, it goes back to those divisional games. I mean, back then we were the AFC Central. Today it's the AFC North. Then we had Houston was in our division, and there's a couple plays. One was against Houston, and one was against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And against the Steelers, again, it was one of those plays we were playing against the. I had John Ward Stallworth and Terry Bradshaw, and this particular game I picked off Terry Bradshaw 3 times in a game. Yeah, and that was an outstanding game, and it always stood out in my mind. But another play that forever will stand in my mind is against the Houston Oilers, because Houston had a big running back called Earl Campbell, and I always wanted a chance to hit Earl Campbell, and you couldn't tell me nothing. I just wanted to hit him, and the boys, talking during the week, Earl Campbell, Earl Campbell, this is Hanford Dixon, we will hit him. So I never forget this. Earl Campbell broke through the line, and I went up and boom, hit him. Okay, as soon as I hit him, headgear was twisted a little bit, and I knew I was hurt. But I didn't want, I said, well, I can't. I remember, saying to myself, well, I can't let them know I'm hurt. So I said, I just got to make it back to the sideline. And sure enough, I, got myself, made it back to the sideline. And I was sitting on the bench, but the only problem, I was sitting on their bench and not, and not our bench.
So he rung your bell pretty good.
Yeah, he rang my bell pretty good. I'll never forget Bill Tessendorf and Mark, who was pretty much our trainers at the time, had to come and get me, take me back to the other side. And I don't have to tell you how, when the next day on Monday, as a team, when we all get together and we were watching film, and how the boys just really let me have it. I mean, but I couldn't do anything but just put my head down and take it. But
have you ever talked to Earl about that?
No, but I could tell you this. Any other time we played the Houston Oilers, when Earl Campbell came through that line, it was not hitting him high.
Yeah, you got to get him low. It was
grabbing him around his ankles and just holding on, knowing that he's going to drag me maybe 2 or 3 yards. But the key was make the sure tackle. But it wasn't one of those strong tackles. And that's another thing why I don't understand watching these guys today. The tackling is just so bad. Everybody's trying to do the knockout punch and go for the ball instead of just making a sure tackle. I mean, that's what you got to do.
Get the man on the ground.
Because you have to live for another play. Sure. Anything could happen during another play, but yeah, that was what happened.
The game that you most remember?
The game that I most remember, or the games that I most remember, are those 3 AFC Championship games against the Denver Broncos, because it was just weird. It's just things happen during those football games to our football team that normally doesn't happen to our football team. For some reason, I just think from a higher power up above, you just didn't want us to win those games. They weren't going to let us win those football games because, like I said, crazy things happened to us during those football games. And then the thing that really hurt so bad is after you see what happened during the course of the game, whenever they played us, then they go to the Super Bowl and they pretty much lay an egg in all those games. Nearly the effort is not there, or what they did in order to win our game in the Super Bowl, and that really hurts. I just think if we would have gotten over the hump and won one of those Super Bowls, got to one of those Super Bowls, we would have won, and I think that's keeping a lot of good players on our football team out of the Hall of Fame. I mean, I really do. But you still have to give John Elway and his team a lot of credit. They made the plays, they did what's necessary to win. Just hurt that during those games, they play so well against us, and then they go to the Super Bowl and for 3 times, they just didn't do anything.
Right. Is there one play on the drive that you just will never forget? The one play that you'll never be good with?
Yeah, there's a few of them.
He had some big conversions.
He had. There were some big plays. I mean, like the one play like the fumble. I mean, when they snap the ball to him, he drops the ball. And was this the third down play?
I think it was 3rd and long.
3rd and long, they snap the ball to him, he drops it. How many times is that ball just going to pop right back
Bounce
up,
right up to him
in his face? Big Daddy, barely, with his big paw, barely misses the ball. And then it was 3rd and 18 when Elway converted to 3rd and 18, where the receiver releases inside, and me, instead of jumping inside of him, I was on the outside of him, and that ball sneaks in there to catch that. But it's just things like that happen. It just so many things during the course of that ball game that happened to our football team that still it drives me crazy today.
In the span of a week, I think you probably have, for most Cleveland Browns fans that aren't in their late 50s and they don't remember the championship teams of the 60s, you had in the span of 7 days, really, perhaps the highest high that they've ever felt as a football fan, and 7 days later, the lowest low. Would you say, as you look back on your career, that Jets overtime win, double overtime win, was the pinnacle, and that first loss to Denver on the drive was the lowest?
Yeah, I would say you're pretty accurate. You have that pretty much correct in perspective. I just think the thing that hurt with the Denver letdown is because it didn't take me long to realize when I got here what type of people or that Cleveland had pretty much, and I'm not just saying this, have the greatest fans anywhere in the world. I think the thing that hurt us most in those 3 AFC Championship games is that we let our fans down. I mean, each guy had to search in their heart. I mean, what can you do or should have done to help our football team win that ball game? And then we had to look our fans in the face, had to look them in the eye, and knowing that we let them down and the hurt that they were feeling, because boy, to get a Super Bowl and go to a Super Bowl for this town, it would just be unbelievable. I don't care what happened. Everybody see what happened in this past season with the Kansas City Chiefs and them winning the big one. Just let the fans here get there. Just let them get just once. It'll be just crazy. I mean, there's nothing it'll be compared to with the Cavaliers winning the championship and everyone, that parade and all that. Let the Browns win one and you'll see. I mean, I don't care. They're still a football town. Always have been and always will be. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, a lot of people share that opinion.
We love our Cavs now. We love our Indians, but this is a Browns town.
Reggie Langhorne literally said just about word for word everything that you
Did
just
he?
said.
Did he?
Almost in the same fashion. He really did.
Yeah.
I know you said that collectively and individually there's this feeling like we let down our fans. I don't know that I've ever seen a love affair between a fan base and a group of players that didn't win a championship. What is it about that bond that those teams had? 30 years later, it still exists with these fans, but you never delivered the title. How do you explain that there's still so much love? You feel it every day. I know you do.
Absolutely, you feel it, and that's what I tell a lot of the guys now. I said, you guys could feel the love from the fans right now, but just think if you won, if you started to win, if you won a championship, I tell you, it'd just be unbelievable. But it all started with us. I remember we had training camp at Lakeland Community College, and the fans were just so close. I mean, they were just so close to us. And see, with us, they could feel us. They felt like they could feel us. They could touch us. I mean, we were out in the community, and they do that. They do that today, but it was just a different feeling. I mean, I remember after a game, leave the stadium. There was no parking then underneath the stadium. We all parked in the lot right across the street, and you walk through there, and there they are, just a few diehards, and you know, you sit there, you have a Coke or you have a beer with them, you talk for a minute or two, and about the game, and again, they're able to touch you, and they're able to feel you, and that was the big thing with us, with our fans. I remember there was people had shows all over town on Monday nights. I remember I had mine. There was a restaurant called Tony Roma's that, I mean, just packed. I mean, absolutely packed with fans. And again, it all goes to where they could touch you and they can feel you. And they, you know, we realized that we were no better, we were no worse than them. We were all just people.
How did the Dawg Pound start? What is the origins of that?
It's kind of weird. It goes back to Lakeland Community College. And going back to my roots, growing up in Alabama, going to school in Mississippi, and I remember how Dawg used to chase a cat running around. And the Dogs was originally meant for the defensive line, not anyone else. It was meant for the defensive line. We had two All-Pro cornerbacks, myself and Frank Minifield. We had All-Pro linebackers, outside linebackers, Clay Matthews and Chip Banks, and we just didn't have that great pass rush. I mean, we had guys on the defensive line that would give you everything they had, but it just wasn't that great pass rush. And we never would forget this. Would told the defensive line, said, look, what we're going to do, we're going to bark at you guys. And when we bark at you, just rear your ears back. Think of that old quarterback as a cat, and you guys are the dogs. And you just go after him. And so we started barking, but the fans, again, at Lakeland Community College, they were so close to the field. So we started barking, and everybody started barking.
They could hear it.
Yeah, before we know it, everybody was the Dogs, not just the defensive line, the whole defense, the whole team, everybody was the Dogs, and it was a beautiful thing. And a little bit upset, though, because once we tried to trademark it, NFL Properties already had it. So
they're crafty that way.
Oh, they are pretty crafty there. They are pretty crafty.
But you still have the peace of mind knowing that literally,
absolutely.
like, it really started an identity for a franchise.
Well, you know what? It is still alive and kicking today. I mean, obviously, Arsenio Hall was barking on TV, and the Dogs today are they're alive. They're well.
Your years here were so exciting and so productive, but as your career is going on, it's inevitable for every player that they know that they're one day going to have to open that door to the afterlife. What was that whole process like for you, Hanford, coming to the realization that it was time, and what were the emotions like during that time?
Well, I think some people have a hard time giving it up than others, but you realize you can't play this game forever. And I was lucky enough to play for 9 years, and pretty much all with the Cleveland Browns, but I had later signed a contract. I was going to go out to San Francisco, but what happened out there, I was in training camp, and I tore my quad. I mean, literally snapped it. I think about it right now. And they wanted to go in and they wanted to do surgery on it, and I said, whoa, no.
You had never had surgery?
And no, I never had surgery.
Really?
Never had surgery.
So you said it'd be easier to retire?
Yeah, so I said it'd be easier to retire, and then I called, I said, hey, I'm going to retire as a Cleveland Brown, but would have liked to play maybe a couple more years, but I think everyone knows when it's over. I think everyone, again, like I said, you have some guys that it's harder to give it up, but I think deep down, I think each and every one of us know when it's time to leave the game. But you try to stay in the game with some aspect, and I have.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still around the team. I still do a lot for the team. I still do radio and TV. So I still feel that I'm part of the organization, even though I'm not really part of it. I still feel like I am, and thank you for Dee and Jimmy. They made the alumni feel like they're part of the organization, because you can come and go or as you please, and they do a lot for the alumni, and I want to tell them thank you.
Yeah. What was that early transition like from NFL Pro Bowler to civilian, no longer a professional athlete?
Well, it was, like I said, you're still part of the game, but you're not part of the game. I mean, you're not playing, but you still feel like you're part of the organization. So it wasn't like a funeral or anything. I mean, it is what it is. It's time to go. It's like whatever you're doing, at some point, you can't do it forever. And sooner or later, they're going to say, hey, we don't need you anymore. And you understand that, because football is a business. Ask some of a lot of the professional athletes. I think they'll be the first one to tell you that we understand that this is a business. We wish we could stay forever. We wish we could stick around and be on that team forever. Yeah. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How would you characterize your post-football life?
It's great. I mean, I don't have any complaints. I don't have any. I think everything is good. I'm good. So.
You still have your health. A lot of guys that played your position.
Well, what I do is, one thing I try to do, this morning, 8 o'clock, I'm on the elliptical. I do an hour a day on the elliptical, at least 6 days a week. I lift 4 days out of the week. I give myself that one day on Sunday. Like I said, I don't work out or anything on Sunday, but I still try to stay in shape. I'm 29 years old and counting.
Forever. Yeah, 29 and holding.
Yeah,
you are forever 29.
29 and holding. But I think it's very important to your health is very important, and you have to work at it. And it's not easy, and especially as you get older. And I turn around and I look, and there's so many of us, guys my age, every time I turn around, one of them is checking out, one of them is leaving. And obviously you hate to see that, and you want to prevent that, but life is good.
Very good. Thanks for the time. It's great to catch up with you.
Jay, I'm a little bit upset because I'm just wondering why it took you so long to, get to me and talk to me. But
can I explain that?
Yes.
When we were plotting out all of the interviews, we wanted to make sure that we spread the love and that we had some superstar talent that we could unveil in season 2.
Okay.
So we thought it would be perfect that you go in season 2.
Well, I want to say this. I want to thank you for having me, and I want to let you know I'm a big fan of the show.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I know you feel the love every day, but when I talk to Browns fans, and I always like to ask them their favorite player, your name comes up by far more than any other defensive player that's named. And it's always near the top.
Now I'm really going to watch the show. I watch it all the time, and I'm really going to watch it now.
All right. Hanford, thanks again.
You're welcome, buddy.
So much. Great to see you.
Okay, you got it.
You look great. Continued success.
Thank you, buddy.
That's going to do it for this edition of Club 46. Please make sure to join us next week when Club 46, driven by Bridgestone, sits down with another former or current Cleveland Brown great. Until then, thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.